All right, let's welcome in our next guest, Peter Schweizer. His new book, Profiles in Corruption, Abuse of Power by America's Progressive Elite. It reached #1 on Amazon's bestseller list the day it was published. Peter is also the president of the Government Accountability Institute, and he wrote a lot of really good books, including Clinton Cash, also a #1 New York Times bestseller. Peter, great to see you again. Thanks for coming back on Newsmax TV.
Thanks for having me, John. Great to be here.
Let's talk about one specific aspect of the impeachment trial happening this week in Washington, D.C., since it involves the issue of corruption. Democrats, mostly Adam Schiff, are trying to shoot down this idea of a witness swap. Why don't you think Adam Schiff and Democrats want Hunter Biden to testify in this trial?
Well, I think the Biden involvement in Ukraine and the enrichment that came from Ukraine, I mean, Hunter Biden basically got $3 million from that deal. It's kind of the tip of the iceberg, and they don't want to go there because it sort of exposes the underbelly of Washington, D.C. You not only have the Biden name involved, but frankly, you've got people in Congress and the Senate from both political parties that engage in this sort of behavior from time to time. So nobody wants to touch it. It's kind of the third rail of politics.
What would you ask Hunter Biden if you had a chance to question him in this venue in a Senate impeachment trial?
Well, I would ask him why he thinks he got hired for the job. Why does he think the Chinese government gave him the private equity deal? To my point, Hunter Biden can sort of dance around, and, his best defense basically, John, is that, well, okay, maybe my famous last name helped me. This is not just a case of a famous last name. It's very specifically tied to the timing of what was unfolding. In the case of Ukraine, it's very simple. In February of 2014, the Russians went into Crimea, triggering the crisis. In March of 2014, Barack Obama names Joe Biden as the point person on U.S. policy towards Ukraine. Within 3 weeks of that appointment, Joe Biden's son is given this sweetheart deal by this corrupt Ukrainian energy company.
So, how much do we know about Joe Biden's knowledge of this? How much does he was he communicating with Hunter Biden? We know that they supposedly didn't talk much about it, but do we believe that?
No, I don't believe that. I mean, I think father and son are very close. They've acknowledged that in other instances. We also know, by the way, that his business partner, Hunter Biden's business partner, Devon Archer, visited the White House and spent several hours with Joe Biden, according to White House records, the day before it was announced that Hunter Biden was going to join the board. Now, what? Did they talk about everything else but that? I rather doubt it. So, look, this is a close-knit family. The Bidens have always been a close-knit family. As I point out in my new book, it's not just Hunter Biden. It involves 4 other family members. And it's really the case that the Bidens have this very strong, close-knit family, which is a great thing in terms of most families. But when it involves government corruption, it becomes, highly problematic.
Let's talk about President Trump and his team. His legal team has presented this argument that they were worried about corruption in Ukraine, and the phone call was perfect. You spent a lot of time looking into government corruption. What do you think about his legal defense here?
Well, look, I mean, I don't know if it was a perfect call, but I do know that it's quite appropriate for the President of the United States in that conversation with Zelensky to bring it up. What a lot of people don't realize is Zelensky, the new leader of Ukraine, was backed financially. His biggest backer is a Ukrainian oligarch named Kolomoisky. Kolomoisky is involved with Burisma, according to a lot of Ukrainian officials. So you have this strange situation where the newly elected leader of Ukraine is backed by a guy involved with the company that is paying the Biden family. So I think that Donald Trump saying specifically, I want you to investigate this, was kind of, in a sense, a shot across the bow, basically saying, I need you to do this because I know it's not going to happen unless I ask you to do it. So I think it's a legitimate question. The American people have a right to know what their leaders and what their families are doing and how they're using their office to get rich. So I think it was an appropriate question. He asked for the Ukrainians to cooperate with the U.S. Attorney General. I don't think there's anything inappropriate with that.
You just watched Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing news channel, now in 65 million homes. Get Newsmax TV on all the major cable systems or go to newsmaxtv.com and click on the Find Newsmax tab to locate us. Remember, Newsmax TV, we're real news for real people.